Is Alberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being here in Houston with us here at KPFT 90.1 FM Houston. Anyway, folks, good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning, the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world. How's everybody doing this morning? We are going to have a great day because you know what? You're in it, you're part of it, and you're going to make it. So, anyhow, before we get any further into this program, we salute our geniuses in the control room, El Senor Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Beber. How are two of my favorite people doing?
Well, I tell you what, one of my favorite people right here is Jack Van Bever, who picked up the mantle and took it yesterday. He said, "Man, those tin cans of string held together like you wouldn't believe." I said, "Well, I just used good glue." So,
All
Jack,
right.
what you
Well,
got for us, man? What's some wisdom for us today?
I went I think Thursday or Friday when it was raining, I went for a ride in the rain, and then after the rain stopped, I wrote this down. Everything got a good drink. The flowers are all open to the sunshine, but not baking in the heat. All the lizards are in the lizards are all in a tizzy doing what lizards do, making little hearts with their tails. Some beetles, not John or Paul, the beetles are coming out of the ground with wings and a deep, translucent green. Water is life.
Nice.
what? Yes, water is in fact life. Howard, isn't it so?
It is true. Let me get the
And
mic
you,
over here. All right. It is true that water is life, and I'm glad the lizards are doing okay.
Yeah.
you know,
I like those
when
little
when
guys.
when he started to talk about the lizard, I wanted to know if I needed to take it just as the lizards or something else. Especially coming from Jack, you have to sometimes reinterpret
You have
some
to
of the
clarify
words.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know how
He's
that
talking about
goes.
the little chameleons, those
That's
things
what he's
are
talking.
those things are really cool. I like those.
Yeah, the little
Yeah.
green list
Yeah.
they're
Anyway,
trying to
folks.
mate and stuff.
All right.
Ah,
Let's hijack his show today and talk about lizards.
That's
yeah,
what's my
the lizard guys. Anyhow, we are going to have a great show, and nobody ever hijacks this show. You can't hijack what you own anyway. Anyway, folks, the title of the show today is Steve Schmidt excoriates GOP. Child poverty is a choice. Bumbling Trump. Who? War is good? And I'm going to start with war is good. But anyhow, Steve Schmidt gives his worst yet excoriation of Mitch McConnell and the GOP, deservedly. Mehdi Hasan highlights child poverty as a policy choice. I repeat, he highlights it as a policy choice. In other words, we don't have to have poverty. As a country, we choose to have poverty. Trump exposes his mental lapses. Hmm, I'm going to play that if I have some time, just sort of to have a little comical relief, if you will. And of course, the topic I really want to start with is war is good. War is good. War is profitable. Last night. Wait a minute. Before I start, there's something that I wanted to jump on that I started yesterday. No, let me do the war first, and then we'll jump on that. Let's do it in this particular order. Anyway, I came up on this article. It was titled "War is Good for Business," declares executive at London's Global Arms Fair. Deals done at DSEI will cause misery across the world, causing global instability and devastate people's lives, one peace activist lamented. People, military industrial complex players, big and small, gathered in London this week, hawking everything from long range missiles to gold plated pistols to arms fair attendees, including representatives of horrific human rights violators as weapon makers and other merchants of the machinery of death reap record profits. War is good for business, one defense executive attending the Biennial Defense and Security Equipment International Conference at Excel London flat out told Reuters, "We are extremely busy." Michael Elmore, head of sales at the UK-based armored steelmaker MTL Advance, told the media agency. Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine and the West's scramble to arm Ukrainians' homeland defenders have been a bonanza for arms makers. Ukraine is a very interesting combination of First and Second World War technologies and very modern technology. Kuldar Varsi, CEO of Estonian unmanned ground vehicle firm Milrem, told Reuters. Man, these guys are cleaning up. High technology going to these places, folks. This is what it's all about. Saber rattling and fear mongering by government, media, and business figures amid rising tensions between the US and its allies on one side and a fast rising China on the border have also spurred military spending, including Japan's $320 billion buildup announced last December. Let's pause for a while. I mean, think about what that one paragraph says. The media, all of these guys are involved. You kind of rile things up. Governments start to behave a certain way because they themselves know that they want to provide businesses with the cash flow to build these arms. That's one way of, spending money, getting to the business, the guys who create wars, right? Fund them. That's your tax dollars, by the way, people. That's your tax dollars. We're building these missiles to be blown up. We're building these things under the premise that we want to keep ourselves safe. And in the process, canals that could move water from drought-stricken areas from wet areas, flooded areas to drought-stricken areas aren't built. We can't afford it. Education for our kids, which costs a fraction of this military spending, we can't do it. But absolutely, these profiteers, they're cleaning up with your money. Continuing. We think this is a longer term, essentially, sea change in national defense strategy for the U.S. and for other Western allies. Jim Tacklet, CEO of U.S. arms giant Lockheed Martin, told investors. Notice that's not the investors, the investor class. Small amount of people, investor class. They're talking about how profitable it's going to be to have all these sales for building the missiles Lockheed and other American companies build. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, the United States, Russia, France, China, and Germany were the world's top arms exporters in 2018 through 2022, with the five nations accounting for, hear this, 76% of all weapons exports during that period. I'm surprised Brazil didn't make it into there, but 76%. The US alone, estamos hablando de los Estados Unidos, the US alone, 40% of such exports. So 4% of the population, we're responsible for 40% of all arms sales around the world. Okay? The US also remains by far the world's biggest military spender. In addition to major corporations, middlemen like Mark Morales have also been profiting handsomely from wars. These are independent folks now that's just out there being middle people selling the arms from the United States of America. And by the way, understand this. When you see terrorists around the world, some other people call them other people's freedom fighters. When you see these guys around the world bombing each other and bombing human beings, remember where those arms are marked, how they're marked, where they come from. 40% of them from us. Middlemen pushing them out there. So many a times we, the lower classes, are providing soldiers to go fight against purported terrorists that are using our own bullets, missiles, and technologies to kill our own. So it's a big old circle. right? But I'm pointing the problem out. Then I'm going to point to some what the solution should be. But let's keep on with the problem, because when you hear all these things, it should make us angry and want to take control of our own government. In addition to major corporations, middlemen like Mark Morales have also been profiteering handsomely from wars in countries including Ukraine. Morales happened to have a warehouse full of ammunition in Bulgaria that the Pentagon originally intended for Afghanistan when Russia invaded its neighbor, and he has been richly rewarded as the US spends tens of billions of dollars arming Ukrainian forces. So, he named his new $10 million yacht Trigger Happy. But let's get this. We are helping, purportedly, Ukraine to ward off Russia. And in the process, somebody makes $10 million to buy a yacht, or rather, more than $10 million. But they buy a yacht, right? That's your money. That's the money that we have all the glory, glory, hallelujah people in America who always are singing defense budget. We want to spend on the military, but we don't want to put food in the mouths of young children. And the few make this kind of a money. Did you hear about this conference on any mainstream media? About how your dollars are being spent not only in Ukraine, but to terrorists, American bullets, American missiles, Americans' equipment going through middlemen and ending up in the hands of people who are coming to kill our own. I want you to understand, when I call us enslaved and when I call us all these things, the reason I'm saying that is not a pejorative. It is a way to say it is time for us to get out of this stuff and elect those people who matter for real for people. Outside the sprawling Excel Convention Center in London's Docklands, anti-war protesters rallied against the global arms trade and death and destruction it fuels. Did you see that on TV? Did you see all the protests in London of these war profiteers? No, you didn't see that on TV. Did you see what happened in New York on TV with the climate change people? Tens of thousands marching in New York. Did that make national news for you? No, you didn't. You didn't see that. The manipulation of your minds, the manipulation of your minds of what is important to us all is astounding. And were it not for independent media like what we're doing here at KPFT, like what folks are doing at Common Dreams, like what folks are doing at TYT, what like folks are doing at No IP and many of these other independents, this never gets known. But we have to get the volume out. We have to get more people out there listening, right? The Guardian reported that at least a dozen demonstrators were arrested during the course of the conference, including 9 on Thursday, for blocking roadside access. Israel is an apartheid state, and it's disgusting that the UK is not only selling weapons to Israel, but encouraging Israeli armed companies to sell their weapons in London, she continued. Representatives from regimes such as Saudi Arabia, who have used UK made weapons to commit anti war crimes in Yemen, will be wined and dined and encouraged to buy yet more arms. Okay? Private sector leaders. Well, let me read the previous paragraph. Included inside Excel, it was business as usual, pressed by declassified UK chief reporter Phil Miller on why Britain's right wing government supports selling arms to Saudi Arabia dictatorship that sentences someone to death for tweeting. Minister of State for the Armed Forces, James Heapy, deflected. Private sector leaders, however, have been more forthcoming, as Raytheon CEO Greg Hayes opined during a 2021 investor call, touting the company's solid growth. Peace is not going to break out in the Middle East anytime soon. In other words, we are betting on war. We believe in war. We want war. Folks, when I tell you the macabre nature of what's going on and what is the solution, what do we do about it? Are we impotent about things like this? No, we're not. Every 2 months, we elect all members of Congress. Every 2 years, we elect all members of Congress. Every 2 years, we elect all members of state actually, to some extent, every year, because some are off-season elections. We change wholeheartedly the House of Delegates, the House. We as a people have to educate ourselves. Those of us that are listening to a KPFT or a TYT or the Coop News or whatever, that's getting real information as to what the plutocracies around the world, what the wealthy around the world are doing to foment war and all these things. That news is out there. We are given and we are expanding on good work from some offbeat reporters at the Guardian and other places that are out there giving the real stories, like what occurred in New York this weekend, what's occurring in London right now with the war profiteers, etc. We're out there. I'm coming to you in a minute, Tag. We're out there. But we as a people have to take a bit more responsibility. And how do you do that? I'm honored first to have you listening here. I am honored that many of you will fact check what I'm saying, and after fact checking what I'm saying, go out there and inform people in your sphere of influence, people that you have agency with, people that you are friends with, that believe in you. They won't necessarily believe me, but after you have gotten the truth, verified the truth, and talked to them, you can make a difference in others' life, and you can teach them how to do the same. And that gives us what's called geometric progression, which means we start to build from the grassroots. This is not cliche. When done correctly, it actually happens. It's math. If each of us say we are going to talk to 5 of our best friends and talk about not changing their minds, but educating their mindset, we can actually make that difference in this entire country, in this entire world. Doesn't happen overnight. It's perseverance. But for those who say, I love America, I love my country, that is what you got to do. Because I guarantee you, those who serve our country today, they don't love their country. They love the country's money. They love your money, to put it bluntly, because they become the arbiters of your money and where it goes to the defense industrial complex, instead of in the mouths of a hungry kid, instead of rebuilding our nation to take care of what the plutocracy has done in creating climate change. I mean, think about all the things we could do. We are in climate change right now. Climate change is a matter of fact. So there are things that need to be done to tie us over, right? There are going to be droughts in the Midwest. There are going to be all these things that are happening. We can change this. We can mitigate this. While we clean up our energy use, our energy format, people still have to live. Migration is going to occur from the floods that we've created around the world, what the Industrial Revolution has done. It's still time. But if we're investing all that money into bombs that enrich a few and kill the many, this is not something we can't solve. You can solve this. All right, let's go ahead and bring Tag into the conversation. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I would love to hear from you. And you know who I'd love to hear from? Mothers, your sons, your daughters. Because of who we elect, many of them will be going to war to die for something they thought they believed in, but for basically die to enrich a few. Tag, come on in.
Morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Doing good, thank you. It's hard for me to believe that mankind has nothing better to do with their technology and their money than to fight wars or to cause that type of destruction. We have so much that available to us to make lives better for people, and the wars are headed in the opposite direction, to make lives worse for people. I don't know who, besides the moneyed few, really, make anything advance on wars. And I just think about, the difference in American politics between what Jimmy Carter tried to do and what Ronald Reagan did. And I'm thankful that now we have somebody. Biden's not perfect, but at least he's, walking the walk as far as trying to get us away from fossil fuels. And you have to stop this fighting and someplace. And it seems to me like if Ukrainians want to put up this fight and try to stop Russia, more power to those people. That's the one thing we did not have in Afghanistan. We didn't have the people willing to fight to stop that Russian aggression. So, I don't support war, but the thing is that if the Ukrainians are going to stand and die, I think we should stand with them. So that's kind of the way I feel about it.
Good for you, Tag. Let me just say, I want you said, remember, it's just a few people that push war, and what they do is they create a narrative that make war seem inevitable. In other words, uh, war doesn't just happen. And you would think that people are just bad, and that is the reason that war happens. Look, even the Ukraine-Russia war, there are many things that could have occurred that could have stopped that war. Is Russia bad? Hell yeah. Is Ukraine good? Hell no. Okay, this glory, glory, hallelujah that we are trying to imply with Ukraine, as if Ukraine is an angel that's a bastion of democracy, that in itself is also a lie. But we don't want a Russia going into Ukraine either, right? Ukraine is a sovereign country now. But we can't sit back and somehow think, glory, glory, hallelujah, Ukraine is some wonderful democracy that American blood needs to be spilled for, or American treasure needs to be completely gained with. Ukraine ought to be something of the world. If the world is okay with Russia, look. The truth of the matter is this: we have, as far as our treasure is concerned, many of the things we are fighting for with our military are things that the defense industrial complex have really fooled us into fighting. And I'm not speaking specifically of Ukraine at all. Ukraine is look, we're in it already, and the truth of the matter is we really can't let Russia start walking over countries, etc. But the military, that is a very small portion of military spending around the world, a very small portion. But anyway, Tag, thank you so kindly for your call. And you keep listening, keep calling. Please remember to keep telling people about us. Let's go ahead and go
Yep.
to Donald. Come on in, Donald.
All right. Good morning, Alberto. You there?
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing, sir?
Are you ready? I
I'm
got
ready.
a game show for you. It's called Name That Price.
Yes.
And today's guest contestants are Jack Van Dever, Howard Reynolds, and Egberto Willis. And
Yes,
you
sir.
spin the wheel, and it lands on the price. And then that's what you get if you win. And then you go to what is the cost of a short range missile? Manufacturer suggested retail price. Then you tell the people what it costs. And of course, you're going to win because every time Jack or Howard try to answer anything, we just buzz them. And then you give the price, and that way it educates the people because the manufacturer suggested retail price of insulin for the United States is this. But we sell it to the world for everything else. But it gives you a little game show. And at the end, since today's Tuesday, after you discuss defense spending, all the other stuff, you can go to Fun Planet Facts. And today's planet would be the size of Uranus after you sit there and go through all of the cost and who got paid. And that's how you break it down for people.
You know, I love your idea of making it a game because it seems what's so funny about it, Donald, is you make it amusing, right? But we are talking real dollars here, and the amount of these dollars that could have built canals that brought water from let's say wet areas into the desert. What's Phoenix going to do as the Colorado dries up? I mean, there's so much that we could invest all this money in, but nobody's mind is on it. The Colorado is drying up. Other than mention it a couple of times, nobody hears enough about it and what it really means for our food supply. What it really, I mean, there is so much happening, but with the concentration of spending on things like military and people not understanding how much the volume of this spending on the military, when people don't understand that, that is what we get. So I like your idea, Donald, about that game.
Exactly, because you can explain how much a missile costs,
right?
How much the manufacturer just retail price is, what it actually costs to manufacture.
Let me give you some better kudos, Donald. Let me give you better kudos. Let me give you a more adulation here. Right now, we are a country of short attention spans and also somewhat very shallow, right? So, TikTok is I'm learning how to do a lot of these shows. I break down into 1 minute segments. And by the way, welcome Melanie Keelan, welcome Eric Hayes, welcome Valves BTW. I'm learning how to make 1 minute TikTok videos and these things so that we can have larger reach for a country that has a short attention span. And I'm trying to learn how to do some of these things to inform.
That phone. You can have it.
Yeah, and what I'm saying, sir, is that's a very good idea. Very good idea. And if I find a way to do it in 1 minute segments, I'll name it as Donald's Game. Okay?
No.
Thank you, brother.
That's all right. You keep it. It's all yours. Later.
Have a wonderful day, Donald. Let's go to Malisa. Come on in, Malisa.
How you doing, love?
I am doing fine, my dear. Talk to me, my friend.
Good. Good morning, Houston. So I just want you to help me understand a couple of definitions or a couple of words regarding the war.
Yes.
So Ukraine says that they're fighting against Russia, but Russia's saying they're fighting fascism, right?
Right.
Could you help me understand what is fascism? Because what the articles I'm looking at is Russia doesn't want. Russia has a man up like program saying that the country is getting too soft. So he's fighting, gays or, trying to not make that, LGBTQ come in, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're helping Ukraine fight Russia to keep that, freedom of, of one's expression or whatever they want to be, alive, then why are they fighting it here? Why are we doing the opposite here? I'm not getting that. Money all the way over there to fight independence and to be who you want to be, but over here we're shutting it down at every cost.
You know what is so interesting? You're too smart. You're too sensible. You're not a good candidate for us to do the things that we're doing, Melissa. You see, you're just too damn smart. Okay. By the way, fascism is what the right is attempting here in America, right here in America. So as we are trying to fight what we are calling Russia a fascist country, for its invasion of a country that many before the war had considered themselves fascist. Okay, so it's a big mess that we are into, and saying, I want to understand. Just based on what you are saying, dear Melissa, you understand how ludicrous this
Good.
entire issue is. Okay, you don't
Thank
need
you.
me for that.
All right.
You understand quite well. And you see, let me
All
tell
right.
you something better, Melissa. The idea of what our media, what our politicians do, is they want to keep things fuzzy enough so that the common sense that you have doesn't seem all that common and correct. But no, you know what's going on. Let's talk a little bit about Ukraine,
Thank you,
and then
Jay.
I'm going to be going to Augie and Gonzalo. But don't forget that Ukraine is the
Okay.
country. We are fighting for Ukraine because Ukraine is a bastion of democracy. Yet when the war
Right.
started and there are people exiting the war, students who are studying from Nigeria and other places in Ukraine were treated
Got you.
like dogs in their attempt to leave. Let's go a bit further. There were people in during the previous reign of the Ukraine. I don't remember the Ukrainian president then, that were attacked, maimed, and killed. We didn't say much about it. In fact, we didn't advertise much about it. So when people are singing the glory, glory, hallelujah about Ukraine, a former Soviet republic, by the way, because remember,
Mm-hmm.
Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and I can name many other now independent states were all had a very strong communist government as part of the
Uh-huh.
USSR. All right? A lot of people
Okay.
don't kind of remember these things, right? You do,
No, because
but a lot of people don't.
it's what? We're simple-minded, right? We're straight flashcards.
There you go. There you go. So what I'm saying, but Melissa, now let me turn this on you, my dear. We need you because you are
Yeah.
smart, but too often because a lot of folks, are not thinking through. We can't get,
Yeah, but
nobody
you know
cares
me.
about this
You know
message.
what I look
They're TikToking,
like.
right? So here's what your
Right.
task is, Melissa. Your task is to tell this story in a manner that your sphere of influence, the people that believe in you can find out. I don't know how to talk to them. Well, I do, but I mean, I'm saying, you have
I
your
got
own
yeah.
sphere.
But I can't you right. I got the connection because maybe they don't listen to you on the radio. I get that.
Exactly. So
I
so
got
you
you.
can make a difference, but you have to make that concerted effort to do it, which many of us, after somebody shuts us down for a couple of times, we say, to hell with it. I know it. We can't say to hell with it. It's now existential. All of us have to do
Right,
our
but
part.
a lot of people, honestly, sir, don't even know why we're in Ukraine. They just know
Ex-
we need to help. America's helping, so we need to help.
right.
That's it. They don't know why. But okay,
Exactly.
thank you so
Exactly.
much.
Melissa, thank you so kindly
And
for your call, and you have a wonderful day. Okay, let's go to Augie. Come on in, brother Augie.
Hey, Berto, like you said, people have a short memory. They forget about the fascists, the Nazis
Hmm.
in Germany. If somebody had stepped up to them in the beginning, we might not have had a World War II. But countries kept putting it off. When the Germans started taking a piece of land, and the orders Hitler gave to his troops was, if the French show up, you retreat and get out of there. When taking this little Sudetenland piece of land, the
Yes.
very first piece of land he took, and nobody stopped him. And then he took over Austria. Then he took over Czechoslovakia, and nobody said anything. And that's what's going to happen, like in Ukraine. It's happened in history, but people sort of forget about that. And like you said, there was a climate change march and outside the studios, and nobody saw that. I
Hmm.
remember it happened more than 20 years ago. I took part in a climate change march in New York City, and it was double the people they thought they were going to get to march. And I was watching the CBS and NBC morning news show, and there's a march going right outside their windows because they show the people outside their studio, but nobody said anything about that on any of the news
Exactly.
shows, national news shows. And
You know,
and people wonder about these messages we get. The
Right.
Republicans have nibbled away at the FCC. They nibble away against truth. We used to have Walter Cronkite. If they made a mistake, they owned it. And now they slowly kept changing the FCC rules where anybody could buy as many media outlets as they could when they couldn't before.
Right.
And now these foreigners buy our media outlets.
Right.
Everybody, those writers, they like Fox News.
Right.
But who owns Fox News? A foreigner owns it. But they love that show that a foreigner owns. All he cares about is lies and profits, like you said, like those warmongers. And then
Let
the
me
military.
posit something though, Augie, and because I don't want, a lot of us, especially let's say on this station here, well, some of our commentators on this station, including yours truly, myself, a lot of times we hit Republicans very hard because, yes, it is that they are mostly in bed with most corporations and actually some of the very bad corporations. But let's not give neoliberal Democrats a pass either, because everything that I just said on this program about war, etc., if these neoliberals care, Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Alayana Presley, Mason, and all these people are talking these issues, but the reporters that are put in the major newspapers are just not there to put it out. They're talking about these issues, but they're just not there to listen to. But a lot of these neoliberal Democrats that get airtime on all these stations, they're not talking about this either. So if we want to be fair about it, let's be fair. Look, let me take my host hat off. My host hat is off. I am a progressive as they come, as progressive as left as you can get in the beliefs that I have. And that makes me, when I'm in my political realm, I caucus with Democrats because that's the only party one with progressive values can caucus with. But that is not to absolve what the Democrats' complicity in what's going on in this country. Okay, my host hat is back on. Yes, Augie.
Yeah, I understand. Like that. I don't think there's ever been a progressive president elected here in the United States.
Exactly.
And Bernie, when he was running, I was for Bernie. I went to his rallies. I even contributed money, and I voted for him. But then he didn't win the primary. Mm-hmm. And so then there was Hillary. And I voted for her, but a lot of progressives didn't vote for her.
That was like a default choice. Yeah, default choice. I got you, Augie. But Augie, the lines are filling up, and I want to first thank you for calling in with some good, smart comments, as usual. Always good comments. And let me go ahead and take Gonzalo, but thank you so kindly, brother, for calling in. Come on in, Gonzalo.
Hey. Good morning, Gilberto.
Buenos días, hermano.
First tell you, this is all a geopolitical move. We all know that Russia is trying to get back what they say belong to them. That is actually a very strategic position, the Donbass and the maritime border, because it gives them access to a maritime strategic position. And on the other side, we have Ukrainians who are fighting for their freedom. And with the complicity of all that unanimously vote for sending weaponry to Ukraine. I'm talking about Joe Biden, our current president, and all the Republicans. So that was a unanimous vote. And we, the people, approved that.
Yes.
For some people. And, going back to history, we're going to put a blame on Iraq war. Probably we can blame the Bushes. Father and son. And probably we cannot blame Obama because he inherited the problem. So probably we can say about the same about Biden when he left Afghanistan, because that was historically not a problem that he created or It was created under his administration.
Gonzalo, can I interrupt for a second, Gonzalo?
Apparently, a Biden issue.
Gonzalo, let me interrupt for a second, okay? I don't want to give any of our presidents a pass. I hear where you're coming from. I don't want to give any of them a pass. You know, when people were attacking Obama for not coming through, I defended Obama and I would still defend Obama. I would even defend Ronald Reagan for certain things. And here's what I defend them with. We have a foreign policy and and the presidency has its own gravity. You could drop any person into the presidency and you are going to get similar foreign policy outcomes. If you take a look at Reagan versus Obama versus Bush versus Biden, our foreign policy are not that different. If we want to be honest about it, in my humble opinion, and I think my opinion can be corroborated with what has occurred in every single one of those administrations. The only one that may get a minor pass, and I got corrected recently, is Carter. And the only difference with Carter is there's one particular question that was asked of Carter. Do you think we should repay? And I don't remember which war it was. And he said, no, they kill a lot of us too. And I had to ask, did that come out of Carter's mouth? And the person who taught me that said, yes, Egberto, but at least he never started a war, or he's the only president that we had in a long time that never participated in a war. And, you know, I still revere Carter. I revere Carter as the most humane president we've ever had. But anyway, continue, Gonzalo. I just wanted to put that in.
Yeah, I agree with you. Carter was a great president. I mean, what you said in a nutshell is they all inherit a script and they put it on their table and they just need to read the script and move along.
Exactamente. You nailed it. I love the way you said that. You said it better than I did in 2 sentences. You're absolutely right about that.
I'm a teacher. I have the capacity to reword the sentences.
Well, you know what I said. You know, teachers have always been my idols. I mean, I love teachers, man. It's from where I'm from. I mean, we actually revere teachers back home. At least in the times that I was there, they were some of the most respected people around. But anyway, Gonzalo, I need to go to Brian. So thank you so kindly for your thoughtful words as usual. Y sigue siendo maestro y profesor. You keep being that teacher and professor,
Gracias,
sir.
amigo. Y tú
Tenga buen día.
Buen político.
Gracias, hermano. Ciao. Come on in, brother Brian. Come on in.
Yeah, this goes out to Preston from Lamarck, Texas, that called the Tom Hartman program yesterday.
I didn't listen to it, so tell me about it.
Well, you know, he should at least have enough guts to use his own name because he calls this program often also.
Okay.
He should use his own true name. And go back to Lamarck, Texas. That's where I went to high school.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived in Texas City, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I was bused from Texas City to Lamarck.
Mm-hmm.
I never held that as a grudge, but Kamala Harris did. She got up on the worldwide stage and said, "Remember that scared little girl? That was me." She still holds busing as a problem to her.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it never was.
Okay.
I got over that. I was bused from a predominantly white neighborhood to a black school. If anyone is from Lamarck, they can attest to this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Tom Hartman is a chronic liar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Let me just tell you before you say that. Let me just tell you that Tom Hartman is a personal friend. But go ahead.
Okay, no, he's also a chronic liar. He said that there are 13 or 12 counties in Mississippi that has 70% black population.
Mm-hmm.
He actually said that. There's none that has 70%. There's one that has 69. He said that Roosevelt, his policies took us from the Great Depression into the least amount of unemployment in world history.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally false. He took office, unemployment rate was 23%. In 1937, it was 19%. Okay, how is that putting millions back to work? You know what took us out of the Great Depression?
But Roosevelt didn't end in 37. He ended in 44 when he died, right?
Yes.
Okay.
How is that putting millions back to work?
Actually, he did.
No, he did.
Okay.
World War II did.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, let's take your stuff step by step. I think your first problem is with Kamala Harris and the pain that she felt about busing. Do you think you could understand that what you felt about busing as a white guy is different than what black folks feel with busing given history? Do you think you could empathize with that at all?
Yeah, I did. But I don't hold it.
Okay, you don't have to hold it as a grudge. But what I'm saying, can I tell you? Can I give you, Brian? Look, I think one of the biggest problems in America, right, when it comes to race and that sort of stuff, is that too many people are not honest with the issue, right? I can tell you that I'm a nice guy, easygoing guy. I talk to everybody. I love everybody, and I mean that genuinely. But every time I don't see the world like you do. I have a good friend that's a supporter of politics done right. He comes into the studio with me and all of that, and we are good friends, very good friends. And we see the world differently. And now, because we can talk honestly, a lot of things he sees my way now because he's looking at it through a different lens. And what I'm telling you, Brian, is we're just talking about the Kamala Harris, what she had to say now. We're not talking about the other stuff. We're talking about the Kamala Harris stuff. I am saying if you had lived Kamala's reality, you see the world very differently. I am a professional. I'm a radio host, engineer, business owner, all that good stuff. And when I go into a store, I still am followed. When I go into the store, I still feel certain things in certain areas. I have a book that I wrote about it just to kind of tell people, as easygoing and as I am and loving on everybody, hey, when I go places, I know who I am. Okay. So what I'm saying to you, Brian, is uh, I think with regards to the race thing, that a lot of times is pushed on the right to kind of divide people in a lot of ways, and making you believe that me telling you the hangups that I have is divisive. No, it's not divisive. We're telling you this so that we can all really change. That's why we need things like diversity teachings and that sort of a stuff, so people can understand the differences that people have to go through mentally, etc. So I'm to drop the issue on our vice president and move on. I just want to end it this way and say this. Look, her experience is different than yours. Instead of attacking her experience, try to understand her experience, and then we could get somewhere. Because when you are black or minority in this country, your experience is vastly different. And you don't hear me talk personalize this too much, but I can tell you for a statement of fact, it is very different. Okay, Brian. Now, I don't know if you want to come in and answer that, or you want me to go to the next subject you brought up.
Okay, no, I'll answer both, and then I got to go because I have jury duty.
Okay. Oh, wow. All right. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Kamala Harris grew up in Bel Air. She was bused for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a real bad neighborhood, isn't it?
Okay, stop for a second. Stop for a second. I want you to stop for me here. And I don't want you to go yet because you did a very important thing. Look at what you just said. Kamala grew up in Beverly Hills. Money wasn't enough. And that's what I'm saying. When I look at you and I tell you I'm a professional, I have done these things, I've done all the rules, and I still feel it. Not because I'm paranoid, but because it's there. And that's what that you just said there. I want you to redirect what you just said to your thought process. You said, look, she grew up in Bel Air. She grew up better than I did. You're a white guy. And she grew up with more money than you had. She grew up with all these other financial benefits, and her pigmentation, her hue, still made things in such a way that she had to feel inhibited. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Continue, sir.
Okay, back to Tom Hartman for real quick, and then I got to go.
Yes, sir.
All right, Friday, September 15th, he stated that Mitt Romney has to pay $5,000 per week for personal security for him and his family.
Yeah.
Because he voted for the impeachment.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not true. That's not true at all.
How is it not true?
He had to pay $5,000 as a temporary service after January 6th. He also stated that members of the DOJ that are trying to prosecute Hunter Biden were swatted. That's not true either.
Okay, let me ask you this. I like I said, Tom is a friend. Let me ask you, how did you corroborate what you're saying versus what Tom is saying?
It's very simple. You can go on the internet.
I know, but what I'm saying is, how did you corroborate your sources? You know, if you tell me something, right, and you tell me something came from, let's say, Breitbart, and I got some information from Tom, I'm more likely to look up Tom's resources, see where he got that information from, because of when Tom Hartman speaks, most of the times I can go ahead and go through sources and validate what he's saying.
He quoted Atlantic Journal. There's at least 15 other different journals that said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't because of him voting for impeachment. It's because of January 6th. He also could not prove himself that the swatting event took place.
Okay.
Not one. He said because you can't find it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. If that would have happened, MSNBC would have been on front line 100 days in a row.
Okay, I can't. Here's what Brian, what I can't do right now is, first of all, I didn't hear the program, number one. And number two, just based on Tom Hartman's history, I tend to be biased to believe in him. But again, if you tell me, if somebody like you, one of my listeners come and say, well, that was wrong, you know, it's something that I'll go look up and try to corroborate. And then I would actually call him up and say, hey, man, this stuff probably needs correcting. And he doesn't have a problem correcting if he makes a mistake on air. I mean, you see, that's the difference here, Brian. And I know you got to go, but let me tell you, one of the best things I like to do is that if I screw up on air, to let my audience know that I am going to correct it, because I want you to believe the things that I say. And if I make a mistake, I'm human, I can. I want you to know that I'm bold enough to come out there and tell you I made a mistake. Anyway, Brian, you got to go, so you go serve your time. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care, brother. All right. Anyway, folks, I don't have all the videos that I have are longer than the time I have left for the program. So I don't have, let me just tell you, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter for all the other things that we were going to cover on the show. There are the videos, good cuts. I have some nice cuts in there that makes that talks very well about it. So I tell you what I'm going to do here in the interim. I'm going to pass it to Howard to say a few words while I look at my feed here. His thoughts. I always like to hear the thoughts of Howard and Jack. Come on in, Howard.
Oh, you do? Yeah,
of course.
You like to heir the empty, vacuous thoughts of Howard Reynolds?
Actually, no. All right, I know you're kidding. I know you're kidding, right? But let me just tell you, I do respect your thoughts. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, you know what's going to be fun this afternoon? I'm going to sit in for work and do Wide Open Spaces.
Are you serious?
The playlist. Yeah, they finally drafted me into doing a show here on KPFT. And it's been so long since I've been on the board to do a music show. I don't know what to do.
Well, hell, I'm gonna be tuning it. You know, 3:00 is when my other shows start, but I'm gonna have you in my and on that little thing in my ear just to check you out, dude. That's great.
Oh my goodness! I'm looking at all the music that I can play here and going, I want to play this one. I want to play this one. Oh, I want to play this one because it's been so long. I mean, I can't even tell you when the last time it was that I did a music show.
Oh, wow.
The other station where I came from.
Well, look, hold on, Howard. We got to do a little ad here. Hey, folks, if you normally don't tune in at 3 p.m. Central Time to KPFT or kpft.org, you're going to hear the spinning Howard Reynolds. So you got to check us out.
Yeah, Rourke's going to be awfully upset because he's come back to no listeners. So what did you do to my show?
I don't think he'll
Well,
have that problem. Anyway, let me give a
okay.
salute to Kavya Kumari, who says hello. Hello, Kamya. All right. I sorry to interrupt you. I just needed to salute somebody. Go ahead.
Well, of course. Well, let's see. We have Jack here, and Jack has got some wisdom for us.
Hey, wisdom,
Jack,
Jack.
what
Come
you
on
got,
in.
man?
I was 2 when President Dwight D. Eisenhower delivered his exit speech, where he warned us of the military industrial complex and the gaining power and influence they were having. We didn't
Yeah.
listen. We didn't listen. It got by us.
Yeah.
The corporatists are just that smart. They have the lawyers. They find the ways to weave their
Yeah.
wishes into law.
Y-
War is just wrong.
You know,
War.
let me tell you, I want to interrupt you a second because I don't want to call the be doing evil things smart. It's just so damn easy to do evil things. But the person that touched me this morning was Melissa, right? When Melissa comes out, and because here's what I got out of Melissa. Melissa knows her stuff, but she calls and she said, "What about XYZ?" I'm like, "Girl, you know your stuff already. You don't need to ask. You need to go out there and talk about what you know because that is what they want us to be defensive about what we know is common sense and what we know. They don't want common sense to be all that common. Anyway, give me a closer, Jack, because we're at 56.
Okay. Children fighting and dying so a rich man can profit.
Oh, man, that was short and sweet, dude. Short and sweet. Anyway, folks, don't forget at 3 p.m. today, Howard Reynolds is going to be spinning for the great old Rourke on Live Open Spaces. So
You're going to hear all
don't
those
forget.
radios being turned off.
No, you got to check it out today because I tell you what, I've been trying to talk Howard into getting a damn show for a long time, and he always has an excuse about being busy, which he is. But anyway, folks, thank you, Howard. Thank you, Jack, out there in the control room. And of course, my name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know I end this baby. I am what? Out.